Welcome to my garden. So I'm very excited today because my tulip bulbs have arrived and I can't wait to get planting them. You can plant tulips from mid-October even right into December. They like it when the weather's got that bit cooler, and of course you can plant your tulips straight out into the ground, but today I'm going to be planting them in a lovely terracotta pot. Now there are actually 15 different groups of tulips, so there is so much choice, and if you choose carefully you can actually have tulip flowers all the way from April right into June, and there are so many different varieties and colours. You can have a great time choosing. So for your pot you want to make sure that you've got good drainage holes. Terracotta works really well because it doesn't get too wet. You can also plant out into plastic pots, but just make sure you've got really good drainage in them. So if you've got any old broken bits of terracotta, you can just put them over the hole. It just stops the compost falling out. And you can also then add, if you've got any horticultural grit, you can add a nice layer of that in the base of your pot. I've got these clay pebbles, which work great for drainage, and I'm going to put a layer of them all along the base. There we go. And I'm just using a multi-purpose compost, and I've also added a product called perlite into it, which again is great for drainage, because the one thing tulips don't like doing is sort of sitting with wet feet. So they're fine with wet, moist compost, but they just like to have good drainage when they're sat there. So this is quite a large pot, so I'm going to need to fill it up with quite a bit of compost. Now I'm going to be planting all of the same variety of tulip because I love the impact of one colour en masse in a pot. The one that I've chosen is Purissima. It's a beautiful early tulip flowering March and April time, and it goes from creams to whites. It's really pretty and quite delicate, and it's also renowned as one of the more perennial types of tulips, meaning it will come back each year if you plant it out into your garden afterwards. So it's always a bonus with tulips. So my pot is filled with about 6 to 8 inches left in the pot, because tulips want to be planted 3 times their depth. So you've got the tulip here is 1, and then 2, and then 3. And a good trick is, if you're wanting your tulips to have more chance of returning when you plant them out in your garden, is to plant them really deep, even deeper than 8 inches, and then you might have more chance of them coming back. Some tulips are more perennial than others, but it's always a handy trick to try. But in this pot, I'm planting them 3 times their depth. And also with tulips, when you're planting them out into the garden, you want to have about 2 tulips worth in between each tulip. But in a pot, you can plant them much closer together, really cram them in, as long as they're not touching so they don't rot, but cram them in to get much nicer impact. And you also want to make sure that you never reuse compost that has had tulips in it before, because there's a chance that disease can get spread. So when planting bulbs, you always want to plant with the pointy end up and the flat bit onto the soil where the roots are going to come from. Pointy end up. And you could also, rather than just planting one layer of bulbs, you could also do what I call a lasagna style planting, where you have different layers of bulbs. So you could have like late and early varieties of tulips in one pot. I have a video for lasagna planting, so you can always watch that if you fancy trying that. But for this one I'm just going to do one variety. So you want to plant your tulips in a circle. Well, that's how I like to do it, in circles, following along round. This pot is 35 centimetres in diameter, so you can fit a nice lot of tulips in it. So you want to fill the compost bag over your tulips up to the top, and then you'll give it a good drink of water just to get them started going, and then position them somewhere in a nice sheltered spot where they still get some rain but they don't get completely waterlogged. So like the side of a house or a shed would be completely ideal. And tulips need that prolonged spell of cold weather to get them into growth and to make them flower. And then come spring, you'll start seeing the shoots appearing, and you can move them into their final position. Oh, it's just so lovely when you see those first shoots appearing after a sort of a dark winter, and you'll have lots of flowers to look forward to. So I wish you happy tulip planting, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my garden again very soon. Okay, bye.